Hello, everyone. How are we all doing? I'm glad to see that we're on time. I'm hoping that the other people will also join. My name is Juliana Imam, and I'm excited to see you all. I'm hoping that I'll get to see your faces. So if you can, please put your videos on. So I'll just go ahead to read about what we do and who we are. And we're also expecting our mentors to join us. So thank you all for signing up. And I'm sure that we would have a great experience during the course of the program. Gypsy Intellectual Property Mentorship and Internship Program is a quarterly program for students, young professionals, and enthusiasts across Africa. Mentees are afforded the opportunity to access valuable advice, training, network mentorship, internship, discussion forums, industry updates, and resource materials from experienced mentors. This program seeks to encourage continuous training, development, and evolution in Africa and around the world. You can watch our videos by searching for Gypsy on YouTube and Facebook. Our hashtag is JIIPCC. The objectives of the program: to provide easy access to quality professional guidance, training, and resource materials for students, young professionals, and enthusiasts across Africa, to facilitate dialogue and network among experienced and less experienced practitioners, and to facilitate dialogue and, okay, I've said that, sorry, to transform mentees into mentors and leaders for the next generation of mentees, to facilitate further mentorship, internship, scholarships, and job placements for mentees. Also, I'd like to encourage everyone to sign up for the private mentorship session. So it's for your favorite mentors. So if you see people, both from this set and from previous sets, if you see any mentor that you like and you would like to have 30 minutes with, you can sign up to have that private session. So I know that everyone might not be bold enough to ask their questions here, or if you have some brief or something that you want to discuss with a particular person, this is the opportunity that you have to take advantage of that. I'll just go ahead to read out the profile of the mentors that we have for today. So our first mentor for today is Kodichi Ani Gogu. She is an astute legal professional with a wealth of experience in commercializing intellectual property and in data protection. She's involved in various facets of the areas of law, from advising clients on identification and exploration of intellectual property rights to preparing documentations for IP transactions. She also conducts training on intellectual property and entertainment law. On the data protection front, she holds a CIPP/E qualification from the International Association of Piracy Professionals. She advises on data protection laws and conducts data protection audits and trainings. Kodichi has authored several articles on intellectual property and data protection and is a contributor to the Thomas Reuters Digital Business Global Guide for Nigeria. Kodichi is an associate of the prestigious law firm of Jackson, Etsy, and Edby.
Good evening, Juliana. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much.
Same here. Yeah, thank you for reading that.
Okay.
All right.
Nice to see you. So I'll be reading out the profile of our second mentor for today. Our second mentor for today is Mr. Nusa. Okay, Nusa Uwadie Esquire. He's managing partner of G Law Firm, Lagos, Nigeria. He's an intellectual property specialist and mediator, advertising law, press law, media law, entertainment law consultant, corporate and commercial lawyer, legal advisor, founder at IP Radio Station, Nigeria's premier intellectual property radio station. And the website is https://ipradio digital.com.ng/convener of Premier IP Workshop on Advertising and Media in Nigeria, IPRAM 2019 International Intellectual Property Conference 2020, Media Advertising and Integrated Communications Expert, Business Developer and Business Growth Strategist, Certification in Media Enterprise, School of Media and Communication, Pan Atlantic University, Lagos, Nigeria, Certificate in Law, Business Management, Strictly Law Business Academy, Sales Leadership Training, Facilitator, Faith Foundation, Entrepreneurship Enterprise, Digital Public Relations Ambassador, Lagos State Chapter of NIPR. So with this, I would like to formally welcome everyone, and I trust that we're going to have an exciting discussion today. So we'll be moving on to the presentations from the mentees. So let's hear from Group 1. The person presenting for Group 1 can just unmute and share your screen and start your presentation. Okay, if Group 1 is not ready, please let's hear from Group 2. Yes, please, I would like to advise everyone to put in your name so that while I'm taking the attendance, it will be easy for me to identify you. Put in the name that you used to register, please. Thank you. Who is presenting for Group 2? Are you ready? Group 1, Group 2. Please unmute yourself and start your presentation. No, what I mean is write your name, that's for the Zoom identification, so I can see the names here. But if what is here is not the name you used to register, like I'm seeing an MO here, so I don't know who has this MO. So this person can just change it to their name. But for the other people, I can see your name, I can see other people's names here. So who is presenting for Group 1? Who is presenting for Group 2, Group 3, Group 4? Please unmute yourself and start your presentation.
Good day, everyone. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adleke Okwemi Christiana. On behalf of everyone, I'll be talking about the impact of the movie and music industry on the African economy, which entails introduction, the African economy, the impact of the movie and music industry, its challenges, recommendations, and eventually the conclusion. So starting with the introduction, given the vastness of the African continent, its music is diverse, with regions and nations having many distinct musical traditions. African music includes the Jurel, Juju, Fuji, Highlife, Makossa, Kizomba, Afrobeat, and others. Music is a prominent feature of African life, from bus rides to concerts to modern and traditional events. We see African music playing a fascinating role, perfected fitted to our daily activities. The power of music to unify cannot be understated. South African hit song Jerusalema got the world on its feet, providing much needed relief amid a global pandemic, symbolizing hope and togetherness even amidst crisis. If there is one thing common in Africa. It is music and dance. At weddings, Africans sings and dance. At funerals, there is song and dance. In fact, music and dance are the tools Africans use to express any emotion. It is no wonder that the entertainment industry is making strides and gaining recognition on a global scale. The entertainment industry directly and indirectly makes up a significant part of the economic activity. These creative industries represent a vital component in driving Africa's economic growth forward. The UN General Assembly 74th session declared 2021 the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, recognizing that the sector remains one of the most resilient industries in the face of global economic challenges and is set to spur economic growth. The digital economy presents a significant opportunity for African arts to tap into a larger market. Already, African musicians and actors are making headway on the world platform. The likes of Davido, Tongai Chiriza, Trevor Noah, and Burna Boy, to mention just a few. This signifies the inherent potential to take African arts and music to the international stage. The full realization of this potential will open up African economies to foreign exchange inflows, employment creations, and act as ignitions for other industries such as tourism. The 2010 report by UNCTAD, the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, showed that Africa only has 1% of the global creative economic cake. This gives scope for enormous growth potential. The creative industries offer an opportunity for African countries to diversify economic inputs beyond the traditional commodities. So now moving to the African economy. Africa is the largest digital music distributing sub-Saharan artists, about 7,850 clients from operations in Lagos, London, Johannesburg, where its leading artist Master KG launched Jerusalem, which became a global smash during the pandemic. A case in point in the Nigerian film industry, which has seen significant investment over the years. Nollywood has become one of the largest employers in Nigeria, directly and indirectly employing over 1 million people. Replicating this homegrown solution in other African countries would create large enough traction to stimulate and increase contribution to GDP. According to Yoel Khan, a founder and CEO of Africori, he said, African music is inspiring creatives from around the world. Alfonso Perozo, Africa, said, I am delighted that we will be working together with Africori and Yoel Khan in particular, as they have been pioneers fighting for the interests of artists and the music industry in Africa. We can harness the power of our global network to take their great African music to a truly global audience. Fiona Okumu, Spotify's head of music for Sub-Saharan Africa, believes that the African music is at a tipping point. He said, we have artists already signing with the biggest labels in substantial deals because everyone can see quite clearly that demand is high and the world is ready for African pop music. Sauti Sol, the pop band from Kenya, has regained international attention. Now moving on to the impact of the music and movie industry. In September 2018, Netflix acquired the global rights to Genevieve Nnaji's comedy Lionheart. That same year, Black Panther became a global success as the first African-themed and predominantly Black cast movie, grossing about $13.5 billion at the global box office. In 2019, WMG signed a partnership deal with leading Nigerian record label Chocolate City and a licensing deal with Boomplay, which raised $20 million. That same year, French media giant Canal acquired Nigerian production studio from video on demand company Iroko TV. Iroko TV announced last year that it was going to list on the London Stock Exchange to raise capital to compete with these global players entering the African market. At the height of the pandemic, Netflix released its first two original African TV series, Queen Soto and Blood and Water. Streaming services such as Netflix, Amazon, movie studios, including Disney and the Cape Town Film Studio, are investing heavily in African productions. Disney Animations has partnered with Uganda based on Kugali to bring an African team animated scientific series, Waju, to the Disney Plus service in 2023. According to PwC, Nigeria's film industry, known as Nollywood, which is the largest private employer in Africa, is one of the fastest growing creative industries in the world. Nollywood has the potential to become Nigeria's greatest export with a compound annual growth rate of 19.3% from 2018 to 2023. Southbox has financed one feature film with a theatrical release and 3 feature films with streaming releases to date. Southbox Entertainment is working with some local partners to launch an initiative called the African Media Trust Fund to direct investment towards more African film and television productions. South African entertainment company MultiChoice has been launching new TV channels in Ghana, Uganda, Ethiopia, Angola in the last 18 months as part of its hyperlocal African strategy, which it says combines local content acquisition, production, and the development of local content through international production partnership. South Africa Entertainment, based in Atlanta, USA, whose founder, John Gosia, lived in Uganda at some point, was inspired to invest in Defiant Entertainment Rise, a film on terror group Boko Haram. As clearly seen on the statistic, according to projections by Digital TV Research, Africa's streaming video on demand users is estimated to reach 30 million by 2025. Moving on to the challenges. Firstly, social influence to create. Yes, artists and producers get to create what they want, but do they really have that much freedom? At some point, trends among the fans define what artists get to create. For example, enjoying the young people are into the movement. We put artists and producers to create in that line. And artists may get little views if they do not create music that the fans are into. Moreover, trends influence the content of an artist's song. Secondly, lack of funds. As we all know, writers with good stories to tell and no funds to finance their dreams are as good as being unemployed. Many times, movie makers have to resort to unconventional means, such as requesting for payment for roles and begging on social media in order to get money for their movie. As one of the major challenges facing Nollywood, the lack of funds have led to the death of good story. Thirdly, lack of talent in acting and producing. The history and evolution of the film industry in Nigeria would not be possible without the talent of many creative thespians. From the producers like Abat Ogunde to actors like Peter Edochie, then John B. Nanji, and ultimately the current crops, which include Little Emanuela. The film industry has never lacked talent. However, when looked at critically, one will notice that the industry is also saturated by many talentless individuals. These people ostensibly join the industry for the fame or money and not because they love the job. Some of them are so awful. It is better to watch paint dry than see them in movies. Also, many of today's memes in the Nigerian social media sphere are pulled from movie clips. A whole lot of them are about hilariously subtitled scenes. While they can be funny, they bury a serious problem that many people overlook. Bad movie productions by talentless producers. A movie produced by a talented filmmaker will not feature scenes of ghost spilling recharge cards to make a call or poorly subtitled scenes. Fourthly, lack of umbrella association. According to veteran producer Wale Adenga, he said consequence of the disunity among practitioners eventually leads to lack of an umbrella association to represent the organization. Lawyers have the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. Teachers have the Nigerian Union of teachers, NUT, but the film industry have no collective association they can point to. Instead, we have various associations claiming to represent different groups of actors. This has made it very difficult for anyone to see Nollywood as a family. Lack of quality control. An average person can't just walk into the hospital to treat patients. However, in Nollywood, an average Nigerian with as little as 50,000 naira can decide to make a movie. This is because they believe anyone can produce and act the movie once they have the resources. This usually leads to horrible and badly scripted pictures. Many patrons who do not have the money to pursue their projects have had to watch in the sidelines as these amateurs bastardize the industry with terrible movies, bad storylines. Many of Nollywood movies are easy to read without even watching them. The ones about evil stepmothers or mother-in-laws usually features enigmatic patient Ozonko. Jimike is almost always the bad lover boy. On the Yoruba side, Taiwo Hassan is almost always the good guy. Even when he does something bad, the storyline finds a way to justify it. These typecast and bad story lines make movies seem like horrible remakes of earlier ones. Biopics of Nigerian leaders or heroes are never brought to scene, and even decent scientifics are missing from the industry's CV. Instead, we are treated to the same old stories with ends easily predictable from the beginning. Lastly, piracy. Piracy is a common challenge that affects artists all around the world. Many countries have laws to try and curb the piracy menace. However, it does not stop people from downloading music for free. Piracy makes it hard for artists to earn money for their copyrighted work. The only positive aspect of piracy is that artists and producers will gain recognition for their work and therefore opens up doors to performances. Recommendations: investing in the creative industry. To achieve the untapped economic growth potential, there is a need to invest in the art sector. Creative arts are no longer a simple form of entertainment. Rather, the arts industry embodies a dynamic economic sector. Despite this, only 1% of venture capital and private equity investments went to the entertainment industry players in 2019, according to the Patek Africa Annual Report. Cohesive investment in infrastructure to produce quality offerings that can compete at an international level is necessary. This will enable the industry to show significant economic growth sufficient to contribute meaningfully to GDP. And lastly, to conclude, the entertainment industry is a hidden gem with the potential to contribute significantly to the mainstream economy. For that reason, African economies must take advantage of their creative potential to strategically coordinate the arts industry. Both government and the private sector stands to benefit. Effort to fund the creative sector must be stepped up in the year of the creative arts. Indeed, Africa can utilize its rich heritage and creativity to power economic development. Thank you.
Wow, so fiery. Thank you so much for that presentation, Christina. It had so much content, and the passion with which you were delivering was unmatched. Well done, well done. You have such an amazing gift. Well done. So let's hear from
Thank
group.
you.
Who is presenting for group 2? Who is presenting for group 2? Okay, so
I'm the one presenting for group 2, ma'am.
Okay, great. Sandra will take over the moderation from here. So, hi, Sandra. You can continue, Esther.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our topic is the impact of the online content comedy industry on the African economy. First, it's important to define what an online content is. An online content refers to any text, image, video, audio content used to convey information or message to an online audience on the internet. What is comedy? Comedy is a genre of fiction that consists of discourses or works intended to be humorous or amusing by inducing laughter, especially in theater, film, stand-up comedy, television, radio, books, or any other entertainment medium. Over the years, online content comedy has evolved, and by this reason, has been able to impact the economy. This impact will, however, be seen as we go further in the presentation. A brief background on online content comedy in Africa. In certain African countries, comedy has been an instrument of popular protest and social transformation. For instance, in South Africa, since the apartheid movement, comedy has become more influential. It flourishes in an environment of near absolute freedom of speech. Online content came as a result of the emergence of social media. Most of these comedians took advantage of these social media platforms. Before the emergence of social media, comedians were only able to showcase their skills as stand-up comedy shows. Sometimes they turn them into videos and sell the cassettes for a fee. However, online comedy and content are using a lot in Africa. For instance, in Africa today, the emergence of social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, among others, has helped these comedians secure an online presence. The internet being a global village has also allowed various transmission of data across various jurisdictions. We have seen the likes of Kebi a Senegalese, Mark Angel comedy, a Nigerian, Elas Majimbo, a Kenyan exploit these platforms. The African Polling Institute conducted a national survey in Nigeria titled Skit Economy, Assessment of Digital Content Creators in Nigeria. The study found that 91% of comedy skits are useful in creating awareness about social trends. 81% of 81% of the role of comedy skits is to correct societal ills. 90% of the potential of comedy skits is for employment generation in Nigeria. How comedians exploit their online contents economically. Number one, TikTok. This social media platform has a monetization policy for online content creators who upload their content on their platforms. It is usually paid when the comedian achieves a particular number of views or followers on the platform. Second, YouTube. Comedians upload their content on this platform, and when they achieve certain number of views and likes, they get paid by YouTube. Ambassadorial deals. Sometimes comedians sign endorsement deals for brands and get paid by these brands. They use their content to promote these brands. Adverts. Most comedians use their content to promote individual brands and get paid for the advertisements. The impact of comedy stroke online content in Africa. Number one, employment opportunities, business promotion, project societal ills, correct societal ills, generate revenue, payment of tax by content creators. How comedy stroke online content can affect the African economy. Comedy and online content can be referred to as a form of entertainment. Comedians and online content creators are also creatives. Marisa Henderson, chief of the Creative Economic Program, UNCTAD, says that the creative economy is recognized now as a tool of sustainable development. UNCTAD defines this creative economy as a sum of all the parts of the creative industries, including trade, labor, and production. According to them, Africa's cultural goods sector is estimated to employ about 500,000 people and generate US $4.2 billion in revenue. The comedy market remains quite small for African comedians to earn sufficient money to sustain themselves through professional comedy activities alone. This is the reason why the number of comedians is still small in each African country. Comedians are not necessarily independent entertainers from actors in many African countries. Although the comedy market does not make enough room for shows and stand-ups, the advent of social media platforms and online presence has changed the narrative. There is no pronounced survey as to the impact of comedy on the African economy, but if taken under the umbrella of the entertainment industry, we can definitely see its impact on the African economy. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I am actually impressed by the level of research that has gone into this, and I know that it takes a lot of cooperation from the group and research and time. Thank you so much for that presentation. I enjoyed it. So let's hear from group 3. Who is presenting for group 3?
Good evening, ma. Good evening, everyone. Okay, I'm the one presenting for group 3. My name is Chika.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, our topic is the impact of visual arts, literary art, and fashion industry on the African economy. First of all, hello. Oh, ma, please, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go on, please.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the impact of visual arts, literary art, and fashion industry on the African economy. First, we want to know what visual arts are. Visual arts can be referred to as visual objects or experiences in the form of ceramics, sculptures, prints, graphic designs, videos, photographs, and architecture that are created and designed by means of the skills, imaginations, and expertise of a particular designer or creator. This can be referred to as works done by the intellectual property of various persons who can be referred to as the creators or designers of the works. These arts can be divided into 3 main categories. 1, flawless fine arts. By fine arts, we actually mean works of artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, creative drawings and paintings that pass certain messages and information to the general public and persons who view those works. The second is dramatic decorative acts. Decorative arts can be referred to as designs or works which are created or designed by the artist so as to decorate in a particular manner. Let's say those paintings and decorations that are usually put up during Christmas every December, they come up mostly in a red or green or white color, which is meant to pass the information of love and affection to family and friends. The third one is compelling contemporary art. Contemporary arts came all the way from cave paintings and ancient crafts as far back as ancient Greece, which means these arts are designs and paintings as far like pottery and works which are designed from sand and clay, as at that time when the main form of designing was clay and sand. During the visual arts industry increased affluence during the second half of the 20th century and has led to a significant extra investment in what has become a major visual arts industry. This can be compared to the way visual art has expanded in many European countries. Tertiary level arts colleges now tend to teach a huge range of subjects to hundreds of thousands of art students. Now, bringing it to Africa, in several institutions, universities, and so we have courses just like theater arts, which tend to teach the students visual art, literary art, fashion, and several other forms of art that happen in the art industry. This structure is frequently augmented to state-run agencies. In addition, governments are becoming major art patrons by buying significant quantities of paintings, plastic art, and other works for public display. New methods of fundraising to support public art have been developed, such as the Percent for Art scheme. Recent cutbacks notwithstanding, all this demonstrates the enormous scale of the visual arts industry in the 21st century. And even if many full-time artists are still poor, this is mainly because their numbers have shot up significantly over the past few decades. Now, coming to literary art. Literary art simply means art in two words, namely art and literature. On the first part, art can be described as the expression of human feelings that have beauty and value, while literature means guidance or guide in the form of text or voice. Now, combining the word art and literature, we come to literary art. Therefore, literary art can be said to be something in the form of writing or stories that have artistic and cultural value and displays the beauty of speech and language to convey certain meanings. When we talk about literary art, we have examples like poetries, books, manuscripts, dramatic works. By dramatic works, we mean, let's say these movies that are being acted every day in cinema and the movie industries, they surely have someone who can refer to as the script writer who sits down to write how the movie will be acted and then produces it, and then the producer brings it out in the form of a drama. Functions of the literary art. Functions of literary art is as follows: to convey moral messages. For example, this simply means recently a lot of motivational books are being released by motivational speakers and writers, which tend to convey moral messages and build up the psychological well-being of that are meant to build up the psychological well-being of the readers. Therefore, one function of the literary art is to convey moral messages to persons who take interest and actually read the books that are in question. Cultural representation. Certain books are being released these days by people to explain the cultures and traditions of a particular ethnic group in the African society. An Igbo writer can come up today and present a book and write a book, release it to the public so as to explain a particular culture that exists in his land. For example, there are a lot of things that we hear about this place in Enugu Ezike. So some of these writers can actually come up, sit down and explain that many of the things we hear about this particular place are just facades and are not actually real, so as to pass a message to the public on how the culture actually goes. Education facility. This can come in form of textbooks and science-related books that are being used by students so as to add to the practical aspect of the works that are being taught in the schools that we attend today. Installing nationalism. This simply means that the literary arts it helps to convey the particular message behind a particular country or society. For example, a writer can sit down and explain how history of Nigeria has ran from time immemorial up to now, so as to explain to people that are non-Nigerians and even Nigerians how our country has been and even where it is going to. It may be in the form of oral literature also. It's the expression of words, stories, and language. Through this, it simply means that literary works don't always come in the form of writings, poetries, dramas, and prose. Literary works can come with words spoken, stories, and languages which are expressed to a particular audience, passing a very important and particular message to the public. Then the fashion industry. The fashion industry is simply about storytelling through clothing. It is a cultural influence, backstory, or intellectual touch point that you can trace back to what we are wearing. We use it to escape the mundane, to embrace and celebrate tradition. It's about a sense of history and pride, and it embodies a greater sense of purpose than just a garment tossed on to cover bodies. By this, we know that apart from reading novels, watching movies, and um, all that, the fashion industry is also a way in which information can be passed. Like the African country, we know that from the time back before the modern trend came out, where we all wear pretty gowns, skirts, and trousers, the wrappers that our mothers used to tie at that time were the reigning things that we can say fashion. The beads and the jewelries at that time were not chains or earrings. They were made with some red beads that used to represent culture, especially for the Igbo man. The history of fashion. It is evident that fashion in clothing and accessories dates far as back as ancient Egyptians. Today, their wigs, hairpieces, and makeup and jewelries are evidence of an extensive fashion culture, and much of their art depicts the importance it held in society. Historically, ancient Greece and Roman also had their fashion. The bright colors, the toga, and the Etruscan wardrobe are staples of ancient Greece and Roman fashion. However, it is also a trend that has continued to change with time, causing both increase in interest and purchases in the fashion industry and the creativity of the fashion marketers. However, next is, how does fashion relate to art? The link between fashion and art extends back before the Renaissance, and the history of this movement is seen in pictures and paintings, where artists attempted to detail the form and texture of fashions in their own art. Fashion has been described as an art by many designers, critics, and consumers, as fashion is a sign of creative self-expression and not just a series of garments or accessories haphazardly put together. Therefore, we can say that fashion designers can be referred to as artists. Each piece they create complements each other physically, and an entire outfit is composed of unique individual garments that come together to make something greater and pass a message. Each generation offers a different interpretation of where art and fashion intersect. Fashion designers often hire painters to sketch artists to draw up several ideas according to the designer's customs, emotions, expertise, ideas, or the recent trends. This tends to apply as a contributor to the visual aspects of art, and it creates beauty, value, and decorations to the human body. With this, it is seen that the fashion industry is interrelated in a way to the visual art industry. Just like he said, fashion designers tend to hire painters to sketch and draw up their ideas, which they tend to communicate and bring to reality in the form of and wares, which people can put together to pass a particular message. Just like I said earlier, in the ancient times, the reigning trend at that time were these wrappers that for a man you tie a wrapper on your waist, for a lady we tie wrappers on our waist, and the ones we tie on the chest to cover the body, and these ancient red beads, especially for the Igbo man. Therefore, the fashion industry can be said to be interrelated to the visual art industry. This is because it tends to create beauty, value, and decoration to the human body, which the eye beholds, and so as to also pass a message by way of the combination of garments to the human body. The impact of the visual, literary, arts, and fashion industry on the African economy. Giving meaning to the role of arts and culture manifested in traditional music, dance, clothing, and drama, we can say that it can earn countries billions of dollars to
You can
spur
start up now, please. Thank you.
to spur growth and create I'm sorry, ma. To spur growth and create jobs. Therefore, the one thing we can say that fashion, literary, visual and fashion industry has contributed to the African economy is revenue and economic growth. This is because it is well known that the African industry, that African economy, and by way of their visual arts and literary arts and fashion industry has gained a lot of value and popularity in different parts of the world. For example, New York, Toronto, Los Angeles, and London. This helps to raise opportunities for highly skilled and creative artists and designers, because it tends to create employment opportunities due to the fact that everybody wants to know why and how Africans we dress differently from the Western man, and how we tend to create our dresses and even our paintings and drawings. However, the one negative impact that these industries have had on the economy is the production of counterfeit goods. Numerous studies have shown that more than half the things that are imported to Africa are fake and are counterfeits of the original product. Therefore, if the continent can have a working system that allows us to export our raw materials, this would reduce, as we would have control over the things we bring into the country just to buy finished products at exorbitant prices. Because at the end of the day, after importing our own materials, they tend to be fake and we buy them at exorbitant prices. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Thank you. So I believe it's ready. Please, if you're ready, let your group representative begin the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Akiyemi Akiumi, and I'll be presenting on behalf of Group 4. We are to present on the topic, the impact of innovative pharmaceutical and technological industry on the African economy. Sorry, am I audible?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you very much. So I shall start my presentation by giving a brief background into the current state of innovation in the pharmaceutical industry in Africa. And I shall also address the challenges that the pharmaceutical industry is facing with respect to innovation in the pharmaceutical industry. Next, I shall take you through a step-by-step process involved in obtaining patents for innovations in the pharmaceutical industry in Africa. And next, I shall paint a picture of what the future of pharmaceutical industries could look like if they are given the proper support by the government. And finally, I shall conclude. So first, what really is the state of pharmaceutical innovations in the pharmaceutical industry in Africa? First, the basic truth is that the continent continues to lag behind in pharmaceutical patents compared to other continents across the globe, as it produces few pharmaceutical innovations when compared to other parts of the world. In other words, the state of innovation in Africa's pharmaceutical industry is low. And this fact is made evident, especially considering the fact that the continent only produces basic drugs, such as painkillers. We only produce things like paracetamol and other basic drugs. In fact, during the COVID-19 pandemic, when other continents were producing viable vaccines to combat the pandemic, the African continent failed in producing vaccinations to help in combat the COVID-19 pandemic. This is indicative of weaknesses in structure and difficulty in, and difficulty for operation for pharmaceutical industries on the African continent. Second, it's very evident that the African continent is heavily reliant on the importation of pharmaceutical goods. And this is evident because a majority of Africa's expenditure in the healthcare sector goes towards the acquisition of pharmaceutical products as a result of low pharmaceutical innovations in Nigeria. So when African countries prepare budgets for the healthcare sector, you find out that up to 60% of the budget is going only to importations of pharmaceutical products, when we could actually develop these products domestically and use them for our own use. So we would see that if the pharmaceutical industry would get innovative and begin to produce drugs, it could even boost the economy of the country, as these drugs that are produced locally would add immense economic benefits to the country. And lastly, with respect to the state of pharmaceutical innovations in Africa, we'll find out that the African pharmaceutical industry, or the African continent in general, has a weak structure and there's difficulty in operation. And that's also one of the factors enhancing the bad innovativeness of pharmaceutical industries in Africa, because there's no platform for them to operate. They face issues like piracy because their innovations are not properly patented. They don't have favorable government policies working for them. And there are so many things that they have to grapple with as an industry at such. And all of these things contribute to discouraging innovation in the pharmaceutical space in Africa. And then if we are a forward-looking continent, what we should begin to consider within ourselves are what are policies that can be brought in place to ensure that innovation in the pharmaceutical industry is continually on the rise. And you'd all agree with me that a major policy which could see or we could encourage innovation is allowing pharmaceutical industries a good platform to patent their ideas. So when pharmaceutical industries come up with innovations, we allow them to patent all of these innovations. So somebody else somewhere cannot just begin to cheat them and begin to make economic benefits of their innovation. And this would lead me to discussing the step-by-step process for patenting pharmaceutical innovations in Africa. Now, what's the criteria for patents in Africa? When pharmaceutical industries present their innovation for patenting, what is the step-by-step process that it goes through? The first process, as can be seen on the screen, is that the registering bodies check for copyright infringement. So there are numerous bodies responsible for overseeing patenting of pharmaceutical industry or of pharmaceutical innovations in Africa. So all of these registering bodies, for example, they act just like JIIPCC does. When they present a pharmaceutical product for patenting, they check the molecular structure of this particular product to ensure that it does not relate, or to ensure that it is not similar to an earlier idea, right? And this is done in order to discourage plagiarism. They don't want people to just be copying ideas that already exist. They want you to come up with your own innovation and ensure that it is patented. Now, the second step is that the government checks for the functionality of this innovation. So now you are coming up with a product and you are claiming that the product has the ability to do this. The regulatory body looks into the product and confirms if it really has the ability to do what you have said it has the ability to do. So say you bring up an innovative pharmaceutical product which you claim has the ability to cure typhoid fever. So the regulatory body tests this product. They go into records of tests that you have conducted in the past, and then all of this is done just in a bid to ensure that this product which you said has this ability indeed has the ability. Now, the third step is that the innovation is made public in order to allow for contestation. So you are bringing an innovative product to the market. Chances are that you have infringed on the copyright of another person. So this product is put out to the public, and then the regulatory body is saying, okay, general public, come and see this new product that this person has claimed to have single-handedly produced. So if you have a feeling or you have a hunch that this person has infringed on your copyright, come outside, present evidence, present proof, and then we would look at possible redresses. So that's really what goes on in this stage. The innovation of pharmaceutical industry is made public. So people who have who feel that their copyright has been infringed upon by that company that's produced that product can come outside to challenge them. And then lastly, the innovations are subject to examination to determine their molecular structure. And this is the last stage of the patent exercise. So what this stage is all about is the regulatory body just goes into further and further research into the product. They check out the functionality once again, they check out the effectiveness, they would check if it has any side effect whatsoever, which could be unbearable by the general public. And then once they confirm that all of these things are absent, and then that the drug is free for the public to use, then they could allow it to go into the public domain and people could begin to purchase the drug. So next, if pharmaceutical industries in Africa are finally given a platform to, showcase their innovations as it is supposed to be, if they have, good government policies working for them, if they have everything in place just as it is supposed to be, what are the things that we are going to see happening? What's really going to be the future of the pharmaceutical industry in Africa when everything works as it is supposed to be? So first, we are going to have a sustainable pharmaceutical industry. So when all of these frameworks are in place, when pharmaceutical industries have their innovations properly patented, when piracy is fought at both ends, both by the government and by private institutions, when pharmaceutical industries can indeed make profit from their innovation, we'll find out that the pharmaceutical industry in Africa would enhance and grow tremendously. And then this is going to reduce the number of importations of pharmaceutical products into Africa. So we have our industries producing our products domestically instead of us spending so much money on importing pharmaceutical products. Second, we would have registration of African herbal medicine. So one thing is peculiar to the pharmaceutical industry in Africa. We seem to have knowledge of how these herbal medicines work, right? But we can't really project all of these things to the international scene because we don't really have the framework yet. We don't have all of these government policies encouraging these innovations. But when the government policies come into place, then we would see that herbal medicine or African herbal medicine, emerges into the global scene and becomes something that is generally acceptable across the globe. We could wake up the next morning and see that a white man is taking agbo or something, African herbal medicine just generally becomes something that is acceptable. Hello, I can't hear you, ma'am.
You have 1 minute to conclude. Please start rounding up.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. So thirdly, we would have the emergence of many more pharmaceutical companies in Africa. Lots of pharmaceutical companies will begin to spring up. And lastly, okay, that will be all for now. So thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Thank you very much, Group 4. Can we have the representative of Group 5?
There's no Group 5, just Group 1 to 4.
Hello, ma'am.
We have just group 1 to 4.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that, ma'am. Thank you very much to everyone that presented. We'll be going over to our mentors to give us their comments and reviews and generally on their thoughts, what they have for us. So first of all, we'll be going over to Cody, Chima, and Ibogu. Ma'am, please, your comments and your reviews.
Thank you, Amaka. First of all, great job to everyone. You know, very good presentations, well delivered, articulate. You know, very well spoken. So, you know, the message was clear, right? But I think I'll start with the last speaker on the patent issue. So you made, you know, several comments and several, will I call them conclusions, you know, but you were not giving facts, in the sense you went tying it. So you're talking about patents in Africa and that process. I wanted to get more, if you can, I don't know if you're able to unmute and just, you know, what is that process of patents in Africa? Where did you get that from, that information? That's Makin with me.
Yes, but it was research. We found out stuff on the internet, ma.
Okay. So just a general note to everybody, especially, I don't know, you know, some of you are lost. I don't know if everyone is a law student. Julian, if you can confirm. Lana or Sandra, if anyone can confirm, you know.
Yes. Well,
yeah. Okay. So that kind of, you know, that kind of information just kind of has to be backed up. But I'm speaking for patents, right? Coming from the Nigerian, I'll come from the Nigerian angle. So talking about, you know, it sounds like a publication, it sounds like an opposition period that doesn't occur in patents. I stand to be corrected if anyone else has any other clarity on that. But in relation to, you know, patent process in Nigeria, it doesn't, you know, necessarily go through those steps that were mentioned. So if you're looking at the Patents and Designs Act, you know, there's, of course, you submit your claims, you know, you make up your, you identify what your patent is supposed to do, but the examination doesn't take place. So in Nigeria, there's no room for substantive examination. The Registrar of Patents will look at, you know, some certain things, but they are not checking to see if, you know, the patent is infringing on another patent, things along that line, which, you know, can't be double-sided. And that's why patents in Nigeria actually come with a sort of a disclaimer, and that, you know, the validity can actually be called to question. So because, and I think the reason is for that, but, you know, the fact that do we even have the process in ground? Patent is a very complex process. There's a lot of, you know, you can patent anything because it's innovation over any type of, you know, technology or any activity or process. So, you know, it's quite broad. You need to have your examiners that are knowledgeable in the field. So in the US and, you know, developed countries as well, you hear about, you know, your patent reviewer might be someone that has, you know, a degree in law and a degree in biology, because, you know, a degree in engineering is specific to that area. And also for Nigeria, there's no substantive examination. They look at the formalities and, you know, you get a patent. And since our focus really is also on economy, that's boosting African economy, there is some, you know, positives to that, in the sense that, you know, if you do innovate and you do something, you're more likely to get your patent. And then you can, because the essence of patents is a monopoly. So you've come up with an invention, you've innovated something that's not the usual in the field of art, doesn't form state of the art. So, you know, to enjoy that benefit, of course, you spoke to pharmaceutical, so I would understand that it's going to be a higher level because there's a lot of risk there, quite clearly. But just to mention that there's an economic boost when, you know, not all those checks are being gone through in Nigeria, in the sense that, you know, there's, you know, you can market your invention, you can sell, you know, you can generate income, revenue, and of course, things that are taxable. So the government does make money. So not having a substantive examination in Nigeria does actually, you know, also serve to boost innovation. And you actually talked about, you know, the dirt of that, which is accurate in Nigeria. And what happens is, because I mean, ASU is on strike now and things like that. So money, not enough money is going into research and development in Nigeria, which is another issue, because you will find that in developed countries, what drives patents is actually universities funding into research and development. Some of these vaccines and some other innovations that we hear about, you'd hear that, it was a school in conjunction with a pharmaceutical company, and all that, and they come together because the schools, that is the role, the academic aspect of, you're doing research is part of the work. And also in the course of that process, there's bound to be innovation, there's bound to be discoveries, there's bound to be, you're doing the research. So, there's, and which is, the commercialization aspect. So, when a company is coming together with a school, it's like, okay, you're developing this, this is how we'll split it, this is what we're going to do. There's a lot of contractual aspects there. But like you mentioned, we don't have so much of that in Nigeria or in Africa, and we really should. But it also, one of the factors could be, that lack of government, aid or funding, and also pharmaceutical companies actually coming out to work with universities and fund universities to bring out such technology. I know there's some sort of things in place now, but in the area of, not necessarily in pharmaceuticals, but in the area of technology, in fact, in the sense of NITSTAR having offices, tech offices in universities, and just there's more room to innovate there. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, Akiwumi. Also, you mentioned copyright infringement, which is a different form of IP. That's why I had to ask, where's the information coming from? Because a patent, there's not likely to be a copyright is a completely different issue. And an idea can't be copyrighted. Copyright focuses on how you express. So your patent is an idea, but you've made it, you've developed it, it's capable of being reproduced. This is something that you can use in an activity. So it's not, it's not in the air in that sense. To get a patent, it must be something that is now workable in, in countries that will conduct substantive examination and things like that. Also cross-checking that, these claims have already been, checking their database that these claims have already been made by other, patent holders. So I hope that was, yeah. I don't know if there's supposed to be time for, because I know it's short. Okay, we got that. Oh, great. Wow. The reviews, Sandra, is it the reviews for all the presentations or for him? Okay, I'll speed it up. The team on the fashion, really good job. That was interesting, especially on visual art as well. And we know what's happening with NFT. So there's a lot of economy boost. There's a lot of digital art going around. I think some of you would recall there was a first, digital fashion show. I think Anifa or so, during the COVID time. So rather than doing the runways, she just had the dresses walking themselves down the runway and people were ordering and things like that. So there's a lot happening in fashion. And I just wanted to also point out that, fashion can be not copyright rather. Yeah, it can be copyright protected actually, if, you draw an artistic work. As an artist, thank you, Amaka, noted. As an artistic work, you can copyright fashion. But another issue with protecting fashion, because you did mention, counterfeiting and things like that, is you have to separate. They're going to come in under industrial design most of the time. For instance, you have a belt. So for industrial design, the focus is always the beauty, the aesthetics. Yeah, the aesthetics are not the utility. So a belt holds, your clothes up. So that cannot really be protected. But if your belt has a really fancy buckle design, that you're the first to make, and that kind of thing, and they are first to file implications. So if you're the first to come and submit this for registration, and this is the fancy design, this is the aesthetic aspect of these belts for industrial design, your fashion could be protected under that. In terms of visual arts, because you talked about artists, not making so much money and being poor, there's actually under the Copyright Act a section, that excludes them from the principle of exhaustion of rights, which is, where you sell something, then, that's the end of your copyright over that product. So someone else reselling that original work, because copyright exists in the work itself, not the physical, manifestations. Like you write a story, anyhow you write the story, that's the copyright, not necessarily the book where, you wrote the story. So for art, in that sense, rather than the fact that another person has bought the painting, the person may have the rights to the painting, but you can't reproduce it. Going off too much into copyright, but the point I wanted to make was artists don't have to be poor, because every resale, we always say about Jay-Z and all these people are investing in artworks. Nigerian, the Copyright Act actually allows artists, and I think some other sculptures and some other forms of copyright work, manuscripts as well. Every resale, you're entitled to some proceeds. So if some artists don't know this, maybe their original works are being sold and resold, and the value keeps increasing. They're actually meant to be getting a proceed from that. So there shouldn't be that that story or that issue of artists being poor per se, and that also of course is contributing to African economy. And I was expecting someone to say something about AfCA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. I know that it's still in process and all that, but we're talking about African economy. And you also mentioned about traditional knowledge in that line, and products. So imagine if we have our adire and all that, and how China can be, they can quickly go and make adire and they start selling. So that money that should come to, I think adire is originally Ogun State or some, parts of the Southwest, that money and that rights where there is the premium, because only this place has that product, that right is actually lost, because it's being found everywhere, and China or anybody else is appropriating it in that sense. So having geographical indications and sort of that culture, protecting that culture, meaning that anybody that wants it needs to come to us. So what does that mean? It translates to more money for you. So I just wanted to bring out that point as well. Trying to okay, going to quickly finally rounding up with music and movies, and also I think I'll put it together with digital content. So very, very good points, very clear points. Just to mention that things can be very complex in that field. There's a lot of intellectual properties, copyrights, musical works and all that. And when we talk about, because I know you mentioned clips of films, being used as memes and all that. So when you talk about those things, they're undergoing transformation, or they are becoming derivative works. So, with the use and the, new copyright works just keep coming up and just keep coming up. So you can imagine that trail of IP and ownership and things along that line. But the fact still remains that it is creating more value and more money is being made. So the existence of one copyright work can lead to the existence of, tens and hundreds of other copyright work. I also wanted to mention that there are policies, to encourage film production in Nigeria. I know Bank of Industry has the Nolly Fund and all. Then I think CBN also has something in place, where they are giving creatives, 0%, zero interest loans, to just, go and produce. But issues tend to come up in terms of collateral, what are you holding on to in exchange for the money to ensure that the person does the work and things like that. And also what is the value of that storyline? Because you talked about, you talked about bad acting. I think you acknowledge that, there's some good storylines and things in there. But there's some issues where the story might not sell. So, that's a loss where you're relying on the money that will be made from the distribution and things like that. So that issue of what can really be collateral, or how much faith a lender can have in the creative. And that's why there are all these funds. So that, but also, banks, Nigerian banks are getting into that space. We have the Ndani TV, GT, we have Red TV, UBA. So I think everyone is realizing that copyright as a boost. It also helps. We talked about the societal ills that it portrays. Nollywood portraying societal ills. I mean, talking about NSAS now, beyond every other thing we're going to remember, definitely the Ozumba Badiwe song, right? What's his name? Someone should help me. I know his name. It skipped my head now. Yeah, so you're always going to remember, and the lines talk about, so they do remind us of these kind of issues. So while you're making your money and all that, you're actually telling a story, and there's some sort of responsibility when you're in those roles. I will stop here. I have a lot more to say, but in the interest of time, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. That was so enlightening. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll be moving over to Mr. Nosa. Please, Mr. Nosa, your comments, reviews on the presentation, and generally your thoughts on the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, all. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Okay, so brilliant presentations. indeed, permit me to say, very historical. Probably let me start with the, the question my colleague asked was very fundamental, that are we dealing with social scientists, people from the arts and humanities, and from the legal side is very fundamental, because I think probably in future we would also need, while the papers are sent, to also send to us some profile of the people, the interns. I hope that will be okay.
Yes, sir.
So that we are able to appreciate whom we are talking to, so that we don't look at issues objectively. Okay, so having said that, my friend that presented on the pharmaceutical industry seems to exist more as a researcher than somebody who is hands-on. What I'm saying that is that the bane of the pharmaceutical industry today is not the innovativeness of the pharmaceutical industry. It's the fact that the cost of producing anything in Nigeria compared with the cost of producing it in Jakarta or Indonesia is what is making the industry. I mean, when we were a bit younger, we had a lot of pharmaceutical industries that were all over Obakran and so many other places, Apapa. Many of them are folded up now because they can't produce those drugs with the cost of fuel and the running cost. Manufacturing cost of drugs is very high. And you would agree with me that drugs are very technical. So they have a lot of equipment, that a lot of processes, such that if they don't get it right, a lot of people will be dying on the road. And so it's easier for them to enter the plane and go and get a formulation and tell them that the blacks they have headache. This is the type of formulation you need to make. Just do half of it in Jakarta and bring it back, because it costs much, much less to do it in those countries than to do. So we are basically a dumping country. In economics, it's called dumping. They just come and dump their products at us. So most of our pharmaceutical companies are marketing companies. They are no longer manufacturing. So it is the cost of production that has caused that essentially. It's not as a result of lack of innovativeness, because whatever they are giving us from the imported countries are formulations that were researched here and we're actually giving to them, because they don't understand us the way we understand ourselves. Then I also want to say that I would have wanted you to tell me how many patents were registered by pharmaceutical companies in Nigeria in the past 5 years, so that I'll be able to know whether we're actually registering more compared with other countries globally. Nigerians are nowhere, Nigerian companies are nowhere in terms of having patents. I mean, registering patents and all that stuff. I agree with you, but even then, from a presentation point of view, we would have liked to know for the past 5 years how many innovations have been registered. In that way, we will really know whether we are progressing in terms of innovation. Because as far as I'm concerned, and I've had this debate severally, people tell me Nigerians are very innovative, and I say, where is the evidence? The evidence for me as a lawyer is that you are patenting your innovation, because, like my colleague said, that is where the money is going to come from. The money is not going to come from what you did in your garage. It's going to come from commercializing the IP that you're able to get. I mean, we are not seeing people. How many trademarks do we have? How many copyrights do we have in Nigeria? is nothing compared to what you have in China, US. So you discover that generally, yes, we can lay claim to the fact that we are not very innovative, but you have not substantiated that with any fact. So I don't agree with you that we are not innovative in pharmaceutical productions. I mean, it's your word against mine because there's no fact. And when you are coming to a presentation, it's not an emotional thing. You must come with facts and figures. And so take that on board, and also take on board that the bane of the industry is the cost of production, not necessarily lack of innovation, except you can prove otherwise. So let's leave it at that for the so that we don't flog my friend too much. My colleague had done some flogging. I just said, let me put that. So on the issue of media content, online content, the question is that where is the money? Where is the money? I mean, I can tell you that we have millions of people churning out online comedy and they are not making money. I can tell you. You can see the Mr. Macaroni and all that stuff making money, but do you know how many Mr. Macaroni, I mean, how many online content gets out there every other minute? How many of them make money? So the question I want you to ask you is that, because your presentation should lead me by the hand, you should be able to tell me where to really put my last cover. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
So I am saying that if I were to follow what you have said and I decide to do comedy now, which part of online comedy would I do? Because it's not online comedy for the sake of online comedy. Which of the online comedy actually attracts money? Which of them attracts brand endorsement? Which of them attracts being influencer? Because you have not told me where the money is. The money is not in the online content. The money is in the fact that you can build up your brand to the extent that you become an influencer. You can build up your brand to the fact that you become a brand ambassador. You can build up your brand to the fact that you have enough followers and a lot of all the metrics. So if you are talking that online content and everything is adding value, give us the metrics. It is the metrics that actually convince us, not that they are online content. As we are talking now, is an online content. Except Juliana tells us that this is making money. There's no way we would know. Juliana, is it making money?
It's not making money.
Is it not an online content?
It's an online content.
It's an online content. So it's not about online content. It's about how you're able to structure it in a commercial way. There are a lot of people who have online content. They don't even know where the contents get to. They don't even monitor. They don't track. So people are making money from their intellectual property without them knowing. So what I'm trying to say is that is the structure that you deliberately create around the online content that pushes you as an influencer. And that actually comes from knowledge of the type of content you have to push out. Because if you don't know the type of content to push out, you won't attract the type of audience that will make sure that the brand comes to you or that you become an influencer. So when you are doing brand marketing and some other things, you don't just go to Mr. Macaroni. There are some people that don't like Mr. Macaroni, true of us. They prefer Tao to Mr. Macaroni. Is that not so? Some prefer whatever her name is, that small girl that was mentioned the other time. So you have to know what you are doing for online. But like you have said, generally, we've had a lot of traction along that line. But the question is that you've not been able to tell me statistics to show that we're actually making money. And I like year on year. For example, you should have been able to show me that we made more money during COVID from online content than we are making now, which stands to reason, because we couldn't come out at that time. So we're all feeding on the online content. Now, I'm not sure they are making as much, or it's a bit harder for them. These are all the indices that you need to show. You need to let me know, for example, the cinemas, I'm rounding up now. Where are the box offices? Who is making what? Why do I need to tie to Netflix? If I don't tie to Netflix, can I not make money from Film House? You need to let me know how much Film House is making every week, what they are making on their sales. This enables me to have an idea of how much money is being exchanged. That tells me the impact on the economy, because most of the discussions are what is the impact on the economy. Now, impact of economy is measured in Naira and Kobo. So I want to hear the numbers. The same thing with the visual arts. Which aspects of the visual arts is there money? So if I want to set up a visual art company today, which one do I set up? Where is the money? Because the truth is that if you are not able to look at the value chain properly, you might not be able to identify where the money is. It is not that dancer that is dancing that is the money. It is the person that is turning that dancing into a commercial venture, who is able to record the intellectual property, is able to market it, is able to distribute it, is able to license it, is able to assign it. So the dancing doesn't make any sense if it is not properly protected and it is not commercially focused. So I want to hear things that make me know that ab initio, whoever is talking about it is telling me where the money is and telling me where and how to make the money. I think I would stop at that. If you are telling me about making money in music, how much did Wizkid make? How much did he make? Tell me how much. How much did Davido make? I want to hear the numbers, because that tells me that next time I can change my name to Davido or play the type of music that, and the government can actually begin to look at it, that these guys are really making money. And you are the people that should be telling the government, because you are the experts there. Thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the review. And I'm sure the mentees and everybody have a lot of questions to answer. Thank you so much. So we'll be moving over to our question and answer session. And our first question here is, to what extent do international policies prevent the production and sale of brand pirated products? To what extent do international policies prevent the production and sale of brand pirated products? So the floor is open to.
Sorry, I think that we can take all the questions together. So you can just post the questions in the chat box, and then
okay,
Ma can read them. She can attempt them. Then Mr. Nosatu will read and answer all of them at once.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I can just quickly speak to this one while you're doing, so that I know that our time is really, well, my point would just be in terms of speaking to treaties such as like TRIPS, trade-related aspects of intellectual property, the conventions like the Paris Convention, you know, the Madrid Protocol. So these things encourage the sort of reciprocity of procedures or recognizing rights of brand owners in a country. So where there are member states, where Nigeria has, you know, signed or is part of this treaty. And, you know, there are other countries that want to register, you know, you're afforded that same protection, which means that with foreigners, you know, are registering their trademarks in Nigeria, are able to come and register their trademarks in Nigeria, then things that have, there are timelines. So I think with patents, in terms of publication, there's the 12 months and the timelines in which if you're publishing, it's no longer going to be new. There are requirements that might not be met because you're trying to file, your patent in a state, because just to first state, IP is territorial. So it's according to countries. So what countries have done and come together through the various treaties to ensure that, brand owners that are interested, intellectual property owners, can actually protect across without being caught or, hindered from protecting their intellectual property. So, priority filing in the sense that if I've filed in one country and I want to file patent or so in another country, in other countries, I can actually also do that simultaneously as well. You can even register your trademarks, across several African countries. There are organizations to that effect, international organizations like WAPI and ARIPO. And the benefit is just to ensure that, that right, which is what when we talk about counterfeits, because when there is a counterfeit product in an area or in a country, how are you going to defend that right if you've not protected yours? You're bringing your evidence to say this belongs to me. That's really the point. So these international treaties are in place to ensure that you can fight, those counterfeit products where you can actually, fight or institute action against, for infringement of, such counterfeit products where they are found, because you now have the right in that territory to, you have the right in that territory over that intellectual property, be it a trademark, a patent, industrial design. For copyright, the Berne Convention, allows that all countries, your registration is automatic. So, you don't need to do anything for a copyright work. That's if you're an author, you're writing your book, or, you write a song specifically and things along that line, you might not need to do anything, but the fact remains that you have to work with the, it's always encouraged that, there's a filing, and Nigeria, there's the NCC, Copyright Commission, there's that filing. So it just serves as evidential purpose that, I created this is the year, all that is a depository mode, and just helps you, because if you want to, claim, that something, your work has been infringed in some other way, and it's a bit hard to prove when you haven't, involved a third party, there's no witness, you haven't deposited your work somewhere. So the NCC does help by having database of copyright works, and, the filing, they make it fairly affordable enough and things like that. So basically, the first thing is, your work has to be protected in whichever territory, so that when there is such infringement or, there's counterfeiting and things along that line, you're able to then fight or, establish your rights, and, get the infringing article off the market, or, get the infringements to also to stop. That's what I'm going to quickly say on that.
Yeah, just to add that it's important that if you have a business plan that you have as the focus to go international beyond your shores, having protected your IP, like my colleague said, it's important that you have in place structures that enable you to understand the policies. Because, for example, I had a conference some time ago, and actually in Nigeria, like you say, you really don't need to register your copyright, except it comes to issues like litigation and every other thing, whereby that probably becomes prima facie evidence of your ownership. But there are some countries like the US where you probably need to also register. So look at the countries that you want to operate in, because it's going to be quite expensive to register in all countries. But if you have an international plan, look at some of the countries. And like she said, the Berne Convention and some of them actually have closed the gap. But look at some countries where you want to operate and make sure you study the policies and how they favor your brand, because you need to prepare for that. If you don't prepare for it, you'll be caught napping. And that doesn't augur well for somebody who's serious about expansion to other markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am. So the other questions are in the chat box. I don't know if I should read them out or if we can pick on any one and
Yes,
speak on
please,
them.
you can just read all of them out, and then then they would answer them.
Okay. So our second question says, in what ways can African creatives control the way their art is exploited, track the spread of their art, and protect their intellectual property rights beyond the borders of their countries?
I think we've answered that.
Yes. I think it's something in that. Yeah, that first question.
The first.
But yes, to quickly add as well for maybe for performers, like musicians and the likes, that's where collecting organizations come in. So these bodies that the performing rights organizations that are set up, to enable, because individually you might not be able to, to protect or to cross, and some of these collecting societies do enter into, MOUs with other collective societies like BMO, in the UK, in the US, and all these people, so that they are protecting, and just to give an example to link it, in the sense that, where copyright work is being published, in a public place, where the banking halls and all that, where broadcasting, works are being broadcast and things like that, there's actually some money that should accrue to the right holders. So these collecting societies and agents are there to, ensure that they're collecting on behalf of their members and they distribute. So I think another way that, creatives can protect is also, ensure that they are members and that the collecting societies. So, there's been some back and forth in the music space. Okay, who is the current collecting society and things like that. Typically, I'd advocate there should be more than one, so that there's that competition, so that the artists can really pick what's best for them and who is having better relationships with international organizations, so that that your interests are being served, globally. Because now everything is a digital space. We're talking about digital content, and your music being heard of course, it's being heard everywhere in the world and all that. So that money from streaming or things like that, things along that line, ensure that they are being collected. Or if you're working with, if it's a production company, the kind of agreements and arrangements that they are getting into with these streaming platforms as well.
Thank you very much, ma'am. So
I would like to mention here that a lot of people in the creative industry, they don't care about protecting their intellectual property. Let's not deceive ourselves. Many of them,
it's the
from
money,
experience, many of them are interested in just doing sculptures and playing music. And
the business side.
Look at.
They're not interested in the business side. Yeah.
Take a typical example. Look at Celebration, for example. Celebration never existed during the years of Fela now. It never did. It was after his death that his children and everybody began to look at, we can really sit down, and now they engage experts. And so many other artists, the same way. I know quite a lot of artists that were in that fold, and many of them have died, and their inventory are just hanging everywhere. People are just exploiting them. So the truth is that fundamentally, a lot of creative people have to seek experts' advice to manage whatever creative output they bring out, because the fact is that the juice of creativity runs dry. You can't continue singing forever. There were people before Two-Face. Now they can't sing again. But does that mean that they can't make money? No. They will be able to make money, but a lot of creative people are not interested. I want us to keep repeating that. They are not keen on securing their future. And if you take statistics, you will see many of them are not interested in securing it. And that is why you see that the impact they would have made on the economy would have been phenomenal compared to developed countries. I dare say could have even been compared to any European country. Nigeria would have overrode any European country if our artists were actually securing their intellectual property. That's the truth. The only ones we could compare with is maybe the US, we would overrun Canada because Nigerians churn out a lot of creative ideas, creative outputs, but they don't make any attempt until they run into trouble. Until somebody now picks the music and start using it for film. Then they start looking for my colleague now to bring water out of stone. But ab initio, they should have done that while they are producing, while they are doing everything concerning their music or their creative work.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll move over to our next question. Our next question is, what is the specific economic impact of comedy and online content in Nigeria?
I don't know. Well, that's why I'm saying that economic impact is a very strong indices because you have to have statistics to, I mean, at a point, entertainment was contributing X to GDP. I don't know what it's doing now because I don't have the statistics. But maybe if you talk about maybe MTN or Airtel will tell you that it's having economic impact because they are making more money from data. But I'm just saying that generally, I'm not able to track that. And I see a lot of comedy online coming up, and I don't know whether people even see up to 30% of it. That is the truth. That is the truth. So I'm really not sure of the impact from my own side.
Yeah, I align myself with you as well in that on that line. That line, definitely.
Okay. We'll move over to the next question. With so much potential in this industry, do you think governments and leaders should get more involved and invested in order to propel the African entertainment industry to the next level?
I think my colleague has answered that. She had talked about the intervention fund from most of the, and there are quite a lot now. Even the artists themselves. The other day I saw Afolayan. I mean, there are many of them are coming up with initiatives to assist the film industry and the entertainment industry generally. So I think there are a lot of innovations coming up. A lot of even Nexim and so many organizations are getting into supporting that industry. You know, the question is that how are we able to track whether they are really making the desired impact or they are just bringing out the money and circulating within themselves. You know, that might be very difficult to track in Nigeria, but on paper, a lot of them are actually coming out to support.
Yeah, that's very true. To also include, I think there are also some local content policies in place as well. The Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, things along that line, Communications Commission, NCC, things just to ensure that there's Nigerian content being developed and being put on in the airwaves and also in the broadcasting space. So that would definitely, there's demand for Nigerian or African or works as well.
You are correct. And that is why when I advise creative people, I always tell them, do something indigenous.
Yeah.
Do something local. If you do something local, even foreigners are willing to partner with you. Because you can't be more English than the British.
Yes,
yes, than the British. You cannot be more English than, even if you grew up there, even if you are in Nigeria and you were born there, as long as you are bearing Abayomi, that Nigerian blood is in you. You cannot be a white man. So you are from Idore, develop something from Idore. Go and write about something from Idore, and you'll be surprised that if you package it well in an international manner, you will get a lot of sponsors that will be willing to back you up. and it will differentiate you. You need to differentiate yourself from other people. And the way to go about it is to be local, in my view.
Mr. Nosere, very correct. I think I even remember, just to quickly pitch in, I think the was it Oscars, when they're always trying to get a Nigerian foreign film, but then, you know, they get rejected that they don't have enough percentage of foreign language spoken. And we're having issues like that where, you know, enough money is not being put behind the, you know, like you mentioned, indigenous films with, you know, our Nigerian languages, you know, just pick one and work on it. I know that there are some movies now that I think are in Yoruba, and there are other things like that, but we definitely need to do more of that. And it's like we're missing out on a lot of global opportunities because everybody's trying to speak English.
Yes. I actually have a friend who picks Igbo videos and translates it to French. He has made a lot of money from the Francophone countries.
Wow.
Because all the Igbo people in Paris and everywhere, that's what they are watching. And their French friends want to understand what they are saying. Yeah. So it's subtitled in French. Great. But all of us are just facing ourselves here. He's sitting down in Paris and he's just making money using technology to transfer Igbo language to French language. Yeah. That's all. So we have to be creative. That is it.
Okay. So our final question. Is it possible for the movie industry to make a law to ban people from making ritualism as a way of making money in movies, as it promotes killing of human beings to make money?
This is an opinion. It's an opinion. But honestly, I have not seen, and I don't know, I stand to be corrected, anybody where there's a Nigerian film that's actually promoting ritual killings. Because from my childhood till date, you know, most of them have the premise of, yes, someone did ritual, but the consequences are always there. Most Nigerian Hollywood films are cautionary tales where nobody celebrates rituals and things along that line. And I noticed that the Censors Board, Film and Video Censors Board guidelines even talked about, you know, our traditions and our customs, and that there are some things that, you know, may look generally or globally like, oh, this is wrong. But if it's in line with the culture, you know, as long as, you know, it reflects the content of the story and is not meant to glamorize the act. So the guidelines actually recognizes that there are such things as, you know, depicting ritual scenes, but the aim should never be to, I mean, encourage ritualism.
But the truth is that I think recently they tried to up their censorship. I think about a few months ago, there was a publication from the Censors Board that particularly addressed rituals and Yahoo and all these things in the movie, because the other day one of the boys said it was that Igbo boy that taught him how to kidnap. I'm sure you know. I don't want to mention their name. So you discover that actually they have influence in those days. Where more mature people and some people who were a bit more discerning were watching it, they were just seeing it as entertainment. But now a lot of younger people are seeing it as a textbook. So they study how they do the ritual. And now you have a lot of videos online that you actually see scenes of ritual. And they are real life scenes, really. There are scenes about where they were committing crimes related to ritual. So it means that it's having a negative effect on the society, whether we like it or not. So the word ban might be too harsh because it's like banning yourself, because that is who we are. You know, one of our brothers is also called, anytime his name is called, people are asking whether he wants to commit ritual there. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. So it has gotten to the stage now where they are trying to stop producers. Not that they are banning them, but they are telling them that they should do less movie that has ritual elements. And even if it does, it should not be shown graphically. But to ban is not possible. It's not possible. You can't, because you can't ban a culture, but you can moderate it. And I think that's what they are trying to do now.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, ma'am. That's the end of our question and answer segment. Thank you to the mentors for their great presentation, their great reviews, and to the mentees. Over to you, ma'am.
Sorry, Juliana. I think you should give our mentees an opportunity to make a comment on our statement.
Okay, please, mentees present, if you would like to make a comment, kindly unmute yourself and comment on the session today, what you learned, and if you have any question. Do we have anyone that wants to comment? Well,
are they still there? Can you
they are
ascertain
here,
if they are still there?
They are here. Probably they are shy.
Are they shocked? Are they shocked? Okay, let's hear one comment from them. One comment.
Okay.
At least let them say something. One comment.
Okay. Wasila has unmuted herself, so I don't know. Oh. Jamie, you also.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I am Yusuf Jamil. I want to say this is a very great session. I have really learned a lot, and thanks to the principal partner of JIIPCC, he has exposed me to some aspects of intellectual property laws that have not been that conversant with before. He spoke about making, he spoke about funds and the pharmaceutical realms in the Nigerian society. I want to say I've really learned a lot from today's session. Thanks a lot. I'll look forward to the next session. Thank you.
Do you have any other person that wants to comment? Okay. Okay, so while we wait for the mentees to decide whether they want to comment or not, I would like to appreciate Sandra for moderating. Also, I would like to thank Kodichima and Mr. Nusa for coming to listen to our presentations and also for commenting on them. I think it's very good that we discuss this topic because as people in the legal space, as students or as young professionals, you will be meeting with people in this space, both those that are practicing and those in the policy side also. And it's good for you to know a bit about the business side so that by the time these people are asking you why they should protect, because I've actually met with a lot of people in the creative space, and when you ask them to protect their work, they don't see the reason why they should do that. But with sessions like this, you're able to tell them that there is the economic side to it, and that economic side is only available mostly when they have been able to protect their work, and then you can explain to them why. I think it's also good for us as legal practitioners, that's for those who are lawyers here, to understand the business side of these things. So for me, I think I know about the music side, I know about the distribution, I know how the money is gotten from like the streaming and from the streaming, from the downloads and all that. So I can explain to a client why they should protect their work and how they can get money from streaming, performance, collective society, etc. And that's because I learned about it deliberately. And there's also the film side to the tech side, etc. So I'd like to encourage everyone that beyond studying about like copyright, patents, trademark, designs, and all that, also try to understand the distribution side and how the money is gotten, so that when you meet with the client and the client is asking you what they stand to gain, you can explain how they can get the money from the back end. And then for the government side, part of the reasons why they encourage oil and gas is because they see the money. So it's good for us to also know how the money is gotten from this creative side and innovative side and all, so that when we have the opportunity to interface with the government, maybe as special advisors or etc., we can admonish them and encourage them to know that there is also money gotten from intellectual property. So with that, I don't know if any other person wants to contribute again. So I would like us to put our videos on and take a picture. When you take a picture, post it on LinkedIn and write what you learned, tag the mentors, Kodichima, tag Mr. Nusa, tag Gypsy, and appreciate them and also say what you learned. So this is picture time. Put your videos on, put on your game faces, and let's take our picture for today. I'm seeing Mr. Nusa's game face.
You know what is interesting about, I think one of the key things that you are providing for these guys is that they have to begin to think in numbers.
Yes.
You understand? Even
Yes,
as many of us as lawyers started thinking in numbers when the economy became hard.
yes.
You understand? So they have the opportunity now, whether they are even writers. I mean, you write with the mindset that I want to make money from this writing, not just that I'm writing for passion. Passion doesn't bring money. What brings money is converting that passion to something that is commercial. And then you now, in the bid to do that, you synchronize with people who know how to do it. So that your friends will be people who can turn your passion to money. So if you are very good at designing clothes, let your friends be people who can turn your clothes to money. Like you said, who is my friend in Sierra Leone that can distribute it in Sierra Leone? How can I make money from it in Canada? What are the channels I should be online so that I can begin to push my fashion? Those are the thought processes that I think this should bring to them. And I think it's an invaluable contribution you're actually giving to their growth, career growth, and their commercial growth. You understand?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Kodichima. Thank you for your time. So I can see your beautiful faces. I can see Aisha. I can see Esther, Polakumi, Polawale, all the people that put Paduno, Daniel, Jeremiah, all of Willie, Jamil, Aishat, Benjamin. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Make sure you write what you learned today. Have an amazing weekend. And for those who are Christians, happy Easter. Thank you so much. Kolawale. Actually, you said your face. Happy Easter. Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Mentees.
Thank you,
everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Take care of yourself. Love to all.
Sorry, can I say something?
Next week Friday. In your lab. Thank you. Bye.
Sorry, can I say something?